Hello, everyone. My name is Onika, and this presentation was prepared as part of the HAP 360 course on Information Systems in Healthcare Management, taught by Dr. James Oakes at George Mason University. Today, my topic is on participatory vendor selection. The purpose of this is to help the organization come to a course of action through consensus. The structured processes allow to engage with a large and diverse group of individuals that utilize EHRs to improve the program to be the best it could be. There are 7 steps. Step 1. Involve stakeholders. An organization has many decision makers where many individuals of the personnel will be involved and asked to give their input. An analyst is the conductor in this process. Step 2. One-on-one interviews. They usually take place on a phone call or in person, and it usually takes an hour long. The process for the analyst conducting this is to have introductions, inquire participants about attributes, and arrange the inputted attributes into a hierarchy, and then to assess possible levels of attribute, assess relative importance of attributes, and to give examples of the calculations to be made. Step 3 is to have a group meeting where analysts will organize a straw model with all the participant responses that will request improvements. The process for the analyst would have to include introductions, explain group task and agenda, have the straw model be presented, and the group members' thoughts and ideas will then be recorded based from the model. Step 4, construct scoring procedure. The analyst will go over the list compiled from the group meeting to figure out the relative importance and reflect the trade-offs between attributes. Step 5, group discussion. Group discussion is to allow participants to voice any concerns and opinions they may have and to work out the differences and to come with compromises as solutions. This has shown to mitigate conflicts amongst group members for later down the line. Step 6, measure performance of information systems. After the group discussion, the analyst will score vendors, measuring the vendor performance on each attribute are based on the following: expert ratings, standard cases and objective measures, subjective ratings of the vendor selection committee. The corresponding score will then indicate the best vendor. Step 7 is documentation. Analysts will write a report demonstrating how each vendor did on each attribute. Report components include methods in evaluating the meeting and analyzing the results, their description of consensus criteria, attribute levels, and associated scores, performance of vendors, conclusions, and next steps. This step will demonstrate the group deliberation that went behind the participatory vendor selection process. The due one assignment for this week is to select a vendor. The approach to do this is to select 2 vendors. Here are some examples. So you'll choose 2 from here. Then we'll need to interview 2 decision makers. This may include nurses, administrative assistants, managers, chief executive officers, or anyone that has experience with EHRs. We will need to ask them from a list of attributes, what are some important attributes that they think are important to them. And from both decision makers, we will narrow down to 3 attributes that are the most common amongst both of them. So for this example, we have chosen reputation, security features, and information flow. We will need to ask both decision makers separately to rate a score between 0 to 100 on each of the 3 attributes mentioned above for both vendor types, as shown in Figure 1, which I'll go over soon. We'll need to ask both decision makers separately to rate a compatibility or importance score for each of the 3 attributes, again listed above, and this will be shown in Figure 2. Just focusing on one decision maker, such as the administrative assistant, the interviewer, such as yourself, will ask the decision maker which of the following attributes they would rank as least importance. So the attributes that I mentioned above, the reputation, security, features, and information flow. And if they respond with the attribute reputation, we will have the reputation equal to 10, and that will indicate the lowest value. The interviewer will ask how many times more important are security features and information flow on a scale of 0 to 10. Decision maker says that information system security features are 4 times more important and information flow are 3 times more important. Therefore, to denote this, we will say that these values are 40 and 30, as more times indicate to multiplying the values by 10. Following this, we will need to use the published literature to confirm the performance of the vendors on each criterion. Then we will need to categorize the importance of each attribute and assign a weight based on how the sum of the attribute is reflected. The weight is calculated by dividing the attribute score by the total sum, as shown in Figure 2. Consensus model. This will follow shortly after the one-on-one interviews, and it will be a group meeting with everyone who comes in contact with the EHR at their setting. So this will need to be a collective meeting, interviewing multiple people on their thoughts. So we'll need to collect their data the same way we did for Figure 1, and I have shown this this collection of data in Figure 3. We will need to find the standardized rate, which is the high score, and that will get 100, and a low score that will receive a score of 0. And this is shown in Figure 4. To create a standardized rate of importance table, we will need to follow Figure 2 steps that I've mentioned earlier. Based on the results, we will need to assign a recommendation according to the calculations. And to do this, we will take the weight multiplied times the standardized rates from Figure 3 for both vendors. The one with the highest score will be the recommended vendor. Lastly, we'll do introspection, where we will comment on value of participatory vendor selection, comment on value of quantification, and to comment on value of conducting interviews before a general meeting. And here are the figures. So for Figure 1, preferences for the single decision maker, the administrative assistant for this example. There are 3 attributes at the top, and then Centricity and Cerner are the vendors that we are inspecting. And so this administrative assistant, she rated each of these attributes to these values. In Figure 2, we asked them for their ranking of importance. She said that reputation is of least importance for her, and so we gave that a score of 10. Whereas the others were a 4 and a 3, and so we multiplied each value by 10, and we got 40 and 30. The sum is just a sum of all those attributes, which is 80, and to get the weight, we just took this score of each attribute and divided that by 80. So 10 divided by 80 is 0.125. 40 divided by 80 is, there's a typo there, but it's 0.50. 30 divided by 80 is 0.37, and so on. Figure 3 shows the consensus model, which is the group meeting where multiple participants were asked for their thoughts, and so that's the values that were collected there. From there on, we will need to create a table of importance that will directly model Figure 2. And lastly, we'll have the standardized rates, which is indicated in Figure 4. And this will take the highest values in the consensus model, so 90, 84, 95, and convert that to 100. And the lowest values, such as 20, 25, and 35, and have that equate to 0. And we will need to do Figure 1, Figure 2 for both decision makers. Thank you for watching. I hope this helped you understand participatory vendor selection and that I assist you with the due and assignment that is due this week. Thank you and good luck.